Hey guys, over the last few weeks we've had a lot of rain down here in on the island, and rats have come out from everywhere, and they're attacking my compost bag. So this is what's going on. Let's see, turn this around. So here's my compost bag from Amazon, and you can clearly see where the rats have been feasting, and they just made holes all over the bag, kind of messing it up. So the idea is that I'm gonna try set up a vermicomposting with worms. Before I do this for real though, before I go big with it, I want to do a mini setup. And in this mini setup, I'm gonna do it with recycled plastic bottles, and I'm gonna run a test and see how viable it is as an option for me. So let's go set that up. So for my setup, I'm going to start with 4 recycled plastic bottles, soda bottles like this. These 4 bottles, and the idea is to cut off this piece of all the bottles, the top maybe 10%, and the bottom part, so I can stack these bottles one on top of the other. I built a little stand here so I can put them like this, and then use wire or rubber bands to keep them in place. Something a little bit like this. This is the idea. So I'm going to try that for a worm composting setup. Let's see how this goes. Now to set this up, during the morning I've collected a bunch of juvenile red swig red, there you go, I've got a few worms here, red wigglers, and there's a bunch of juveniles in here. I think they have crept down, but there's loads of them. So they're the ones I'm going to put in the system as a test and see how fast it'll take them to break down the compost, the kitchen scraps I'm going to put in there. Okay, let's leave them alone for now, and let's go set this up. Okay, for starters, I'm going to start by cutting off this piece of the bottle. Actually, I'm going to use this as the bottom bottle, so I'm going to cut it up higher. I'm going to cut it up higher, and this bottle will be empty. It'll be empty so I can collect the worm tea that drops in. Be very careful here. So here's the idea. This is the bottom part. I'm going to fill this up with rocks to give it stability. Then I'm going to put this one where I cut off this part, and I cut off a little piece of iron wire mesh so I can use this as a filter and put the worm bedding on it. So we got to fit that in. Hope you can see that. Bend it a bit. And this is going to sit here at the bottom of this bottle, like that. I may have to cut off a little bit more. Give it a slightly more roundish shape. Okay, there we go. There we go. So like that. Then I'm going to put the bedding on top of that. A little bit of soil. Put it on top of this. And then put my compost right in here with the worms. And the idea is that as I keep feeding the worms, little by little, of course, not more than a cup every whenever, because I don't know how fast they're going to eat now. Then I could stack up this other bottle, and as the worms eat the compost and they reach higher, they're going to move into this second bottle here. They're going to move up into the second bottle here, and then I could take this bottle off, take my compost, replace this with another bottle, and keep going. So I hope that makes sense. The idea is that as the worms eat the kitchen scraps, they keep moving up, right? They keep moving up, up, up. And then at a certain point, one of these bottles is going to be empty of worms. They would have eaten everything in here. And then this would be pure compost, right? So I could take this off. The worms would be in this bottle now. And then I put it down here and put another empty bottle at the top. So I could keep recycling the bottles, every so often. So we're going to finish the setup. Let's go. So here's a view from the inside. The mesh will keep my bedding in place and stop the soil from just dropping into the bottom bottle. And we're going to start filling it up with some bedding now. Now we're going to collect the worms with as little of this as possible, but there still needs to be some of it in. It's a little bit wet because we've had a lot of rain, and I took these out of the ground. So I need to dig a little to find these little critters. They're all juveniles, by the way. Let's do it by hand because that thing doesn't really help me much. And it's amazing, I don't see them now. There were dozens of these little critters in the morning. I can't see them now. Where are you guys? Where are you? Thought I saw one there. This is really strange. I can't seem to find them. Okay, let me put this camera down and search better. So here's the setup with two bottles. Well, actually three. One being the base bottle where I would collect the worm tea. Then I've got some juvenile red squigglers in there with bedding and a little bit of soil. I hope you can see that. Well, you can't see the worms, but yeah, they're in there. And then as I keep feeding them little by little, they'll keep moving up. They'll keep moving up. This bottle will keep filling up. And then when it reaches about this height, I can then put this other bottle on top and as the worms move up into this second top bottle, I can remove this bottom bottle, put this bottle right here, and then use my soil. So that's the theory. So we're going to put this to test. It's going to take a couple of months because my worms are all juveniles, and unfortunately in my area ordering worms is not an option. So I'm going to set this up this way and we're going to see what happens. Hey guys, thanks for watching. And if you like the video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like the video. Thanks guys. Cheers.